Five new starting quarterbacks. 5 new first-round picks. 5 quarterbacks that will forever be compared. Their careers from 2021 until they retire will be compared. In this video, I will compare, contrast, and give you my predictions for Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. The 5 first-round quarterbacks from the 2021 NFL Draft. Before I give you my predictions for these 5 quarterbacks, make sure that you do spike that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to the Bottom Line View for more NFL content just like this. Before I rank the 5 careers of these first-round quarterbacks, I first want to go through each quarterback, give you my thoughts and projection of their career, and then also give you a player comp for the player. But the player comp is not a skill comp. It's not a physical comp. It's a career comp. Okay, so it has really nothing to do with the play style of the player. I tried my best with that, but that wasn't fundamental to the decision. The decision was based on the career I think will closely resemble this quarterback, or the career I could think of that closely resembles this quarterback. The first quarterback I'm going to discuss here is the number 1 overall pick. That's Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence, I believe, is going to a situation in Jacksonville I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about Urban Meyer. I'm not sold 100%. I know he's had success at college for many, many years, and I know he has success with culture. So maybe this will work out. Have a very talented young player like Trevor Lawrence, and have a coach like Urban Meyer, who's a proven winner. Those 2 things could lead to long-term success. Definitely. Now, I am slightly buying into the off-season reports about Trevor Lawrence. Those things that his family is talking about him as a competitor, not having a chip on his shoulder, those are things that bug me a little bit. They do sit in the back of my mind. So that speaks to me when it comes to improving, getting better. Are you going to be the same player your whole career? Are you going to work to improve the little things in your game? Some quarterbacks can be really good, even great, even Hall of Famers, without having the Hall of Fame work ethic. Others make it there because of it. Trevor Lawrence, I believe, will always be looked at as a big-time talent that performs very well. I think he'll have seasons where he's inside the top 10. I think he'll have seasons where he's just outside the top 10, and I think a majority of his career, he'll be inside the top 15 best quarterbacks in football. That will give Jacksonville plenty of playoff experience, plenty of playoff opportunities, but I don't know if he'll ever win a Super Bowl. And if I had to guess, I'll say he will never win a Super Bowl. He may win an MVP. That is very possible. And it may be actually sooner rather than later, because with Trevor Lawrence, I don't see him long-term getting better and better and better. I think he's going to plateau in the next 3 to 4 years. I think he's going to get better first couple years. Then you're going to see the best of Trevor Lawrence just before he hits the age of 30. I think that's really where his peak of football play will happen. That's truthfully what I believe. My career comp for Trevor Lawrence is Drew Bledsoe. Somebody that was a first overall pick, somebody that came into the NFL with very high expectations to turn a franchise around, and did his job, right? He did his job. They went to the Super Bowl, I believe, 2 or 3 seasons into his career. They lost that game, but he made it to a Super Bowl. He was a 4-time Pro Bowler. And really, if it weren't for Tom Brady, I think we'd look back at Drew Bledsoe's career and say, man, that was a really good career, like the Hall of really good. But for me, I think Trevor Lawrence is not going to be an all-timer. I don't think he's going to live up to the generational prospect status. I think he'll be very good, but I don't ever see him being every season top 5 quarterback. I don't see him being a multiple-time Super Bowl champion. I don't see him being a multiple-time MVP. He could accomplish one of those things, maybe both of those things. And maybe he could have a debate at the end of his career to be, you know, a really good player that is like maybe in some people's minds a Hall of Famer, but I don't actually think he'll be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. I would compare him to somebody like Drew Bledsoe, who was really good, really talented, started in a tough situation, made his way on a couple different teams, performed well, but is not known as a Hall of Famer. The second quarterback is Zach Wilson, taken number 2 overall by the New York Jets. Zach Wilson with the New York Jets is probably the most fascinating case here because the Jets seemingly these last 2 off seasons have gotten a lot better and a lot smarter. I think that has a lot to do with their new general manager. Now, they have also a new head coach. I am not personally a big Robert Saleh guy. Like, in terms of a schematic coach, he could be a real good motivator, a real good leader of men, and that, of course, is sometimes the biggest skill a coach can possess. But I'm not sure if he'll be there long term with the Jets, so I'm not truly 100% confident in the coach. The roster right now is definitely the worst in the division, so he's gonna have a rough start to his career, at least the first season. Maybe next year they get drastically better with some improvement, but the general manager and the front office has me inspired a little bit, and I look at it and say, okay, he has an opportunity here, one that Sam Darnold never did. Zach Wilson to me is the most talented quarterback of this class when it comes to throwing the football as a passer of the football, right? Passing athleticism in the pocket, different arm angles, you know, ripping the football around, arm strength, all that stuff. Zach Wilson screams talent. The question is, will the Jets support him enough throughout the course of his career? So because of this, I could see Wilson being a quarterback that goes to multiple Pro Bowls. I could see him being a guy that's really thought highly inside the NFL as somebody that's very talented. But I could see the Jets being very inconsistent as a good team, as a playoff team. I could see them being up and down. He goes to the playoffs a couple times. You know, there's going to be other times where they're not a good team at all, and he suffers because of it, and his status as a quarterback suffers because of it. I think Zach Wilson is going to have a career very similar to Matthew Stafford, which at the end of the day, you know, Stafford was a number 1 overall pick. A lot of people look at him as a good quarterback, but not quite great and not quite Hall of Fame yet. Maybe he could get there with the Rams at the end of his career, but I look at Wilson as somebody that I think the NFL will respect, true NFL fans will respect because of his talent. I think we'll look at him and say, you know, he only went to the playoffs like 3 or 4 times, and he didn't win a lot of games. His organization, if he was on a better team, he would have been way better, and maybe he would have won MVP, maybe he would have won a Super Bowl. Hopefully he has an opportunity down the road where he has a Matthew Stafford-like situation where he gets an opportunity with a coach like Sean McVay, but I'm not sure if that will come along for him. So Zach Wilson, I could see Matthew Stafford-like. Big numbers, big stats, great talent, but probably not winning many Super Bowls. The third quarterback selected was Trey Lance to the San Francisco 49ers. Trey Lance is by far the most divisive, I believe, of these quarterbacks in terms of what we project for their careers. I can see some people saying Trey Lance may be the biggest bust in this draft. I can see other people saying that Trey Lance could be the biggest superstar in this draft, especially when you consider the landing spot, the San Francisco 49ers, and the head coach Kyle Shanahan. So just there, the landing spot right away, it's a great roster, it's a great space, it's a great place to be. It's also a great market, San Francisco. And then you have Kyle Shanahan, who's still very, very young. Kyle Shanahan, to me, is one of the best offensive play callers in the game, if not the best. He's one of the most creative coaches. He's one of the coaches that's always ahead of the game in terms of innovation offensively. That will serve Trey Lance very well. The question is, can Trey Lance become a traditional quarterback, a passer, at least a respectable level at the NFL level? I think he can. I think he can be good. I don't think Trey Lance is ever going to be a Tom Brady or a Peyton Manning, but I don't think he needs to be. I look at Trey Lance as somebody that is going to wow audiences. He's going to be exciting. He's going to be fun to watch. I think his athleticism will be off the charts. I think because of that, he'll be somebody that you look at his highlights every offseason and you say, wow, look at this guy. He's special. He's running people over like Cam Newton. He's throwing bombs like Cam Newton. His career, I could see being like Donovan McNabb. Okay, Donovan McNabb, who is also a big-armed running quarterback, scrambling quarterback as well. Now, I wouldn't compare them that much as players, but there's at least a fundamental level. But when you look at the external things here, I think Trey Lance will be like a 6-5-time Pro Bowler with Kyle Shanahan as his coach. I could see him going to a Super Bowl, maybe winning one, okay? Donovan McNabb did that. They went to multiple NFC championship games. I think like 3 or 4 Philadelphia did. I could see that happening as well. And I could see Trey Lance having some inconsistencies, especially at the end of his career. Once McNabb kind of lost his physical traits, his arm strength, his ability to move and scramble, then his career dwindled, and it dwindled fast. I could see the same thing with Trey Lance, in his mid-30s. The other thing I'll say here about Trey Lance is he might get more scrutiny because of the team he's on with the coach that he has. Because just like Donovan McNabb, who was in Philadelphia, much harsher climate for much of his career, but he had Andy Reid, and a lot of people look at Andy Reid as this offensive mastermind, a guy that's one of the best play callers, designers in the game. Same thing with Kyle Shanahan, right? A young Andy Reid, a young Kyle Shanahan. Similar vibes here, where I feel like they would blame the quarterback over the coach. So I see a lot of similarities between McNabb and the possibilities that exist with Trey Lance, and that would be my comp. The number 4 quarterback selected in the 2021 NFL Draft was Justin Fields to the Chicago Bears. With Justin Fields, I see the biggest bust potential out of any of these quarterbacks. And if one of these 5, and most likely one of these 5, is going to bust, in my opinion, if it were to be one of the 5, it will be Fields. Because of the situation he's in, because of the type of quarterback he is. His flaws that you see at the college level: decision making, processing, sticking on your first read and not being able to decipher a defense quickly, picking up the blitz, throwing under pressure, that kind of stuff, as well as the arm, the technique, the fundamentals. So those things concern me. And if one of these guys were to be a bust, I believe those factors in Fields' game, as much as, he has such great upside, that would make him, to me, the clear bust candidate out of all of these players. Now, he also has great upside because he has obviously great speed, great scrambling ability, a huge arm, a cannon, and he has great intangibles: leadership, poise, toughness, clutch. So Justin Fields is an interesting one, but I do truly believe him being in Chicago will hurt his career more than any other quarterback in this class, because I'm not sure about Matt Nagy. I'm not sold about him as a developer of a quarterback. We haven't seen it yet. It didn't work out with Trubisky, and the same flaws that existed with Trubisky exist with Justin Fields, which worries me a little bit. So when I look at Justin Fields, I see somebody that will wow people with his athleticism. He'll put up rushing yards, he'll get by with his physical ability, but he'll not be great in the mental game. He'll be somebody that has seasons where he's brilliant because certain things fall his way. He has a good supporting cast, maybe a good offensive line, for example, or a good defense. I could see him winning a lot of games and getting the playoffs certain years and then having a disastrous year the next. I could see inconsistency is what I'm trying to say with Justin Fields. I'm not going to say he's going to be an outright bust because I don't believe that. I think he'll have some success, but also just as many bad down years. And if I were to compare him to somebody, it's actually a recent NFL name, somebody who's starting in the league. That's Carson Wentz. Somebody that has gotten by with their physical ability, has suffered a little bit with injuries, which I'm not really factoring in with Fields, but that's been the case for Wentz. Carson Wentz, he shows you his talent. He showcases it. And at times he wins games by himself, Justin Fields. But he also showcases his inability to get rid of the football. He takes a lot of sacks. And Sometimes he just has really bad games. And that's what I see with Justin Fields, as long as he stays in Chicago. Now with Carson Wentz, the same thing could exist with Justin Fields, where after his first contract or 4 or 5 years, he could end up going somewhere else and actually being a better player and a better quarterback. That could very well exist, just as it does for Carson Wentz in Indianapolis. So that would be my career comp. A guy that was nearly an MVP 1 year, and then just 2 years later or 3 years later was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. That's kind of what I see with Justin Fields. The final quarterback drafted in the 2021 NFL Draft was Mac Jones, 15th overall to the New England Patriots. I believe Mac Jones got his match made in heaven, 15th to the Patriots. He is ideal for this system, the drop back pass game of Josh McDaniels. He has the intelligence, the decision making, and overall the vision to make the throws. He has the accuracy, the touch, and this guy has a work ethic that I think stands above the rest in this class. His attention to detail and his passion for the game may make him the best at the NFL level, because I see a lot of progression for Mac Jones throughout his career, not just early, but actually as the years go on. The more experience he has, because of his ability to see and read a defense, Mac Jones doesn't have the highest floor, which is a lot of people are saying that. I think he may have the highest ceiling, because I think if he does turn out to be a Drew Brees, if he does turn out to be a Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, which he's been comped to, that's a pretty high ceiling. Mac Jones, I believe, is going to be a quarterback who is successful for many seasons. He's very consistent statistically. He wins a lot of games because he's in New England. He'll be a part of this system where he will not get a lot of credit for the team winning games, because Bill Belichick will be his coach, or they'll look at it as the Patriots winning games and not giving credit to the young Mac Jones. I could see him being somebody that flirts with the MVP conversation, but because he doesn't have the physical tools, people aren't wowed by him on the highlight reel, and he probably will never really win one. He might win one if the team is phenomenal and he puts up huge stats. I could see Mac Jones winning the Super Bowl. If I were to say out of any of the quarterbacks who will win a Super Bowl in this class, I think it would be between him and Trey Lance for the first to do it, or for the only to do it here. Mac Jones is somebody that, like I said, because of what I see, overall cerebral perspective, I think he's going to have the most long-term success and the longest career. I would comp Mac Jones to Matt Ryan with maybe a Super Bowl win. Now remember, Matt Ryan almost won a Super Bowl. Like, he was super close, and he also won an MVP. Now, I understand that this one's kind of weird because a lot of people are already comping Matt Ryan in terms of play style, but I'm thinking about like the stats. I'm thinking about like a borderline Hall of Fame player who's not like extremely, you think of him as super talented, but he's a smart guy, he's respected, he's always about a top 10 quarterback, he's consistent, right? And that's what I see from Mac Jones. I don't think he's going to become Tom Brady. I don't think anyone is. I don't think he's going to become Drew Brees or Peyton Manning. Now, maybe he's Matt Ryan if Matt Ryan were to play in New England. That certainly could have been the case, and maybe that leads to more victories and more playoff appearances. But I think from like an overall accolades, individual perspective, Mac Jones will be about a Matt Ryan in the NFL. If I had to rank it from number 5 to number 1, my list would be Justin Fields at number 5. At number 4, I would go with Zach Wilson. At number 3, Trevor Lawrence, surprisingly. At number 2, I would go with Trey Lance. And at number 1, I would go with Mac Jones. Now, the top 2 are clear to me. I think you could rank the bottom 3 in any order that you see fit. But the top 2, because of their situation and because of their coaches, I think are put in the best situation to succeed and have a successful start and finish to their careers. I think Mac Jones is the most likely to win a Super Bowl, but I think Trey Lance could have the most individual success. So that's the way I would put it. Those would be my predictions and my projections for these 5 quarterbacks of the 2021 NFL draft class. Let me know yours in the comment section below, and let me know any questions if you want me to clarify anything. Thanks for watching. It's Mitch. Peace.